So welcome to the supporters update. This is now April 2022. I and the chairs of General Council have been doing these support updates now for 2 years. How time flies. For those of people who don't know us, we'll do some introductions. So I'm Debs McCann, I'm the Chief Exec at Woodcraft Folk and largely take responsibility for the strategy, managing the staff team and supporting General Council. And this evening I'm joined by Aggie. Aggie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, thank you, Debs. So I am Aggie, I am the current chair of General Council. So facilitate General Council meetings and work on our strategy and work plan and planning our AGM and general fund, things like that. Thank you.
Cool. Aggie, you're right to keep an eye on the chat because I can see that there are things in the chat, but if I open it, I'll lose sharing the screen and it will all be confusing. So whilst Aggie has a quick look at the chat, I'll explain what we're going to do. So the aim of the supporters update is just to keep members and supporters updated, as the name suggests, as it says on its tin. Ideally, we want to enthuse you so that we keep you involved and ideally increase your engagement and give you a little insight to what opportunities there are to be involved on either a regional or a national level. We would love to hear your feedback and suggestions, so please ask questions at any time. You don't have to wait to the end. If you want to ask a question or make a comment as we go through, either simply unmute yourself and say what you've got to say, or you can put something in the chat. Aggie and I have prepared a little presentation for you. So we're going to give you an update about General Council, a little bit about our projects and current funding, some news about our staff. Millie has joined us today, who will give us some news about Common Ground. I can hear somebody talking, but I don't think they're talking at us. So if they don't want to be recorded, could you please mute yourself? Thank you. If you do want to talk to us, by all means, say again. And we will do a little bit of some ideas of events and how you can get involved in what's happening nationally. And as I said, there is a general question and answer session at the end, but actually we welcome your questions as we go through, because sometimes it just makes sense to ask them when we're in that topic. I'm going to hand over first to Aggie, who's going to give you a little update about what General Council have been up to. But before I do, this lovely photograph was taken at the end of last month at Highgate, our residential centre in Calderdale. And this is some of the members of the Common Ground team at their latest board meeting. They might look cold, but they're all smiling, which is a good thing. Aggie, over to you.
Nice. Thank you so much, Debs. Yes, so I just want to highlight some key agenda themes that we've been looking at in General Council. We have been reviewing the staffing policies as the staffs adjust more to home-based working. We have been finalising our work on the trading subsidiary to better manage Woodcraft Folk's tax and VAT liabilities. We have been engaging a lot with IFM and with international projects, which are now excitingly resumed since COVID restrictions are lifting. We have been discussing centres and their need to invest in them to become more sustainable. And also we have been exploring the possibility of a new centre following our centenary in 2025. And in general, we have been prioritising strengthening our local groups, supporting our volunteers, improving youth engagement and increasing and widening participation in Woodcraft Folk activities, which are all part of our strategic plan. I'd also quickly like to mention Ukraine and our response. We were all horrified by the outbreak of the war. I'm very pleased with the response that Woodcraft Folk as an organisation gave to it. We had a public statement from General Council, but also from our young members. We have been supporting young people who have been engaging in peace activities such as peace communicators with IFM, which happened at the time when the conflict broke out. We've been sharing resources with groups and with partner organisations such as the National Youth Agency, the Peace Pledge Union, the Quakers, the Peace Education Network, UK Youth Save the Children and Children First. and have been really pleased that lots of our resources on Peace have been shared and are being used to support volunteers and support young people in this difficult time. And we're really, really proud of our membership response, including so much local funding, collections and offers to host refugee families, but especially including pioneers from Glasgow who raised over £1,000 towards this effort. And yes, and I'd also like to mention just some of the international opportunities that we have at the moment. As I said, we've been doing loads and loads of engagement with international work. We have lots of ESC placements happening both in the UK, where young people from around Europe are coming and joining our staff team and joining our centres, getting to know Woodcraft groups and supporting our organisation. We also have Woodcrafters on ECS volunteers abroad, such as myself. I'm in Brussels at the moment, supported by Woodcraft, which is great. We've had young people at Peace Communicators, as mentioned, which was in Brussels. We had young people, including Millie, at the Socialist Education Toolkit, which happened in Germany in February. We had really young people, some of our children, supported by Lauren and Sandra at Kids Got Rights in Barcelona a few weeks ago. And we will have young people going to Kids Got Rights next week in Vienna, which is really, really exciting. We have Impact and Journey for Youth Leadership happening in Cudham in May, the kickoff meetings. We have Winds of Change, which is a, what's it called?
It's an exchange.
An exchange, that's the word, where young people, I believe, are going at the moment, or maybe, yes, it is at the moment, to Portugal, Italy and Austria on exchanges. And upcoming, we have Queer Easter in Berlin and the Summer School in Berlin, and the Change Makers of Tomorrow. It's a shameless plug that I'm doing, which is another international opportunity we have coming up in June, which is also with IFM. So there's loads and loads of things that our young people are able to get involved with at the moment, which is really, really exciting.
We encourage people on our website. There is a special page called International Opportunities, and we encourage people to look on there regularly, as now that COVID restrictions have been released, we seem to be delivering 3 years of international projects all in one. So there are lots of opportunities for young people to get involved and to meet up with other young members across the International Folker movement. So please do share that with your young members.
I think it's over to you now, Debs, for projects.
It is over to me, and I've managed to mute myself. So lots of project news. Thank you, Aggie, for that wonderful update about international stuff. It is great, but as I said, we do appear to be doing all the projects from 2020, 2021 and 2022 all in one go. So as I think Aggie just said, we've got young people this month in Barcelona, Austria and Portugal, which is just amazing. But we want to tell you a little bit about some of the activities that are happening in the UK. So we have stepped up our work on decarbonisation. We have established a new working group, and we are particularly looking for individuals to join that working group who have an experience in either communications, developing infographics or project management. That group is now looking at how we can effectively measure the carbon footprint of Woodcraft Folks activities, so we can then begin to reduce the carbon footprint and our impact on the environment at our centres, at our camps, and eventually at our local groups. General Council have made the decision to prioritise our properties first. So we are starting this work with a Royal Society of Chemistry funded training event at Cudham, which starts on Monday. And there are still a few places available. So again, if you know young people who are interested in learning about the climate emergency and decarbonisation, that is a free opportunity for them at Cudham, Monday to Wednesday next week. And by young, I mean people under the age of 30, just to be clear. But that work we'll be reporting every year in our annual report from 2023 about our impact on the environment. So you can hopefully see our carbon footprint decrease slowly over time. It will be a challenge to reflect the statistics, because with 2 years of COVID restrictions, our levels of activity have been much reduced. So in our first year of monitoring, it may look like our footprint has gone up, but in comparison to the level of activity, that won't be the case. But I'll share those stats when we're ready. Other news is from our groups. So we currently have 225 local groups that are active. We still have a number of groups who haven't reopened following the pandemic, and we're working with those to help recruit both children and volunteers so that they can be reborn, as it were. So for some of our groups, a lot of the young people have aged out and there has been no recruitment during the pandemic, so we're having to start again. I can report that we opened 17 new groups in 2020, which isn't bad, given the levels of restrictions that were still in place, and that we are already opening new groups in 2022, which is also a good thing to see and something that we would like to see more of. What we have experienced in the last few months is an increase in public inquiries about new groups and about parents who would like to send their children to their local Woodcraft Folk group, which is all really, really positive. However, it's not all good news. Our average group size has reduced during the pandemic, or that's what the figures are telling us from the latest group registration. We're hoping that now restrictions are fully lifted, that between now and the end of the summer term, group sizes will return to their pre-pandemic levels, but we are monitoring those carefully. So thank you to all the groups who share their information with the membership team. Ooh. In terms of funding, just a little bit of an update. So we received a grant award from the Jack Petchey Foundation to work in London, which is called the Reignite Project, and that's working specifically to help those groups that have struggled through the pandemic, to help them with recruitment and training of new volunteers and to recruit more children and families. So they'll be spending the summer term doing some outreach across public places in South London and looking to support a team of young leaders in the autumn term. There's also been some really good news at Cudham, and I feel that Ros is probably better placed to say this than me as the treasurer at Cudham, but Cudham has received 2 small grants, one from Arnold Clark and one from the Four Winds Trust. And this is a special thanks to the Four Winds Trust, who decided to increase the grant offer based on increasing running costs and the increased cost of living. So they upped the amount that they gave, the amount that we asked for. So thank you to the Four Winds Trust for supporting our work at Cudham. I am at the moment really busy though trying to seek funding for some of our decarbonisation activities. There is a real desire to look at investing in renewable technology at some of our centres, and also to look at how we can better insulate the centres to reduce our fuel and utility costs, because we have seen those significantly increase in recent months. And then I think I've got one more thing I want to tell you about, which is the Childhood Trust campaign. Now, this is a new campaign for us, and it gives us an opportunity to get match funding. So we need to raise a number of pledges, and then once we've raised the pledges, the funder, the Childhood Trust, will match that and enable us to go forward to a public campaign in June. And again, the Childhood Trust will match those pledges, so that we have a possibility of doubling and then doubling again the amount of funds that are supported. The work will take place in the summer and the autumn term, and will focus all about rebuilding the groups and trying to recruit more children and families to engage in our activities. If anybody felt able to make a pledge, we would really appreciate it. We're currently £300 short of our target, and we are slowly running out days. We have 5 days to raise the last £300. I will make sure that it goes in the chat later, or I might ask Aggie to do that if she could take it off the notes. Thank you. And then I think, am I back to you, Aggie, for a second?
Yes, you are. Yes, so I just want to share with you some more news. Firstly, our registered office has changed from the 1st of April, which has just happened. We are now in Hollyoak House, Hanover Street, Manchester, and there's a postcode. So if you want to send us any mail, you can do so to this address. It's very exciting. And then I think I'll be sharing on the next slide some staff changes. Yes. So we seem to be an ever-growing team here in Woodcraft, which is really, really nice. We've had some more new starters. We have Grace Sharrod, who is the maternity cover for groups and membership co-coordinator. We have Lauren Penny, who has joined us as the communications manager. And we have Adam Hostler, who is joining us as the centres administrator. This is also on maternity leave cover. And we're going to have 2 new starters as well coming up this month, which is Cece, who is a fundraiser starting on the 25th of April, and Andrew, who's the Highgate Centre Coordinator, who's starting on the 1st of May. So we're very excited to welcome them both. And we also have some other really, really nice news, which is Leanne has given birth to twins, Lennox and Luna. And I'm pleased to share that both mother and babies are doing well. I obviously personally haven't seen them, but I have seen some very, very cute photographs. And it's very exciting to have new wood chips in the making. Yes, so I think now it's passing to Millie.
Yeah, thanks both of you. That was all really interesting. So yeah, just moving on to Common Ground. We're getting super busy now. The booking deadline is approaching, which is exciting. But we definitely need everyone to book and to pay by the 2nd of May. So that 2nd of May deadline is both for putting in all the details of all the people that are coming and for paying fully. Some people have paid a deposit already. Some people have all their details on already. But yeah, we need all of that info by the 2nd of May. So make sure you let anyone know that who may not be aware. Obviously, we're going to push out a lot of comms about that in the next month. The other thing that's coming up at the moment is pre-camp. I sent an email to all the lead booking contacts a week or 2 ago. There's now a booking form and it's on a designated page on the Common Ground website as well. So if you want to come to pre-camp, it's a great opportunity to see the site, meet lots of people that are going to be at camp, do some program tasters and get a tour and input into the code of conduct and things like that as well. Other news that our projected number has gone up, which is super exciting. We're now expecting around 2,500 campers, and there could be as many as 3,000 or even a bit more than 3,000. So that's super exciting. They're coming from lots of different countries as well. We've got around 20 countries represented in that, I think. So yeah, that's really cool. And then one of the things at the moment that's really key for anyone coming to camp is that you need to start getting your DBS or PVG sorted, and also your membership. So every adult or every over 16 with a role or every over 18 will need a DBS or a PVG to come to camp, and will need to be a member as well. And so if yours has lapsed or is going to lapse before camp, you need to start getting that sorted now to make sure you don't get turned away. And then last thing is just that we're still in need of some volunteers. So I won't go through all of those things now, but for example, some people to help with the distribution of the food, some people to help just driving vans, some people to help with young people's well-being, particularly sexual and mental health, and yeah, lots more. There's a designated page on the website under About called Get Involved. So if you're interested, have a look at that or email info@commonground.camp and we can point you towards where we might use your help. Yeah, that's all from me.
Millie, can you give us a bit of advice just so that we can record it here? So for young people who may be not active in a group anymore, particularly maybe DFs or young kinsfolk, how can they get involved?
There's loads of things they can do depending on their skill set. Like I say, that page is really useful, but some of the things that kind of we need a lot of people and they don't need any particular skills necessarily would be stewarding, which you'll have to come to camp a little bit early. We're going to first aid train all our stewards and give them a chance to get to know the site and everything. So that will just be kind of patrolling around, checking everyone's safe. Also, things like if you want to learn more about stage and sound and how to deal with that, whether you're experienced or not, we're after some people to help out with that, and you can be trained up a bit if you're not experienced but you're interested. What else? Obviously program. All the centres could do with more help if there's anyone who's interested in running workshops on any theme. You can see a list of all those on the website as well. And yeah, lots more. if you know of any DFs or young kinsfolk who aren't really involved with the group but want to come, get them to drop an email to info@Common Ground, and yeah, we'll chat to them about what they could do.
Thank you, Millie. Whilst you're there, does anybody have any questions particularly about Common Ground that they would like to ask Millie at this stage? If you have a question in a moment, you can always ask us later, because Millie's going to stay here for the rest of the session, aren't you, Millie? Yeah. But thank you, Millie. I'm really pleased that in 2020 we took the decision to postpone Common Ground to 2022. It's been lovely seeing the commitment from the organising team, who some of them signed up in 2015, and little did they know 7 years later would still be organising Common Ground. We are very excited to be holding our first large international camp for 11 years. It's been long overdue, but there is also a team of young people who are beginning to plan a large camp for our centenary year in 2025. So it feels like buses that these large camps will come around quite quickly. We've waited a long time, but here they come. So thank you, Millie, and thanks to Paulina and Tom and the rest of the Common Ground team too. I've got some other opportunities for how you can get involved. Some of these just require you enjoying yourself. So as I was mentioning, the centenary of Woodcraft Folk, Spanning the World is an event that we're running in partnership with UCL in London, and we are holding a symposium on the 25th of June. The event will have some speakers and some small group work looking at climate change, international camps and how they have changed, the difference between the international camps of the interworld World War period and today's international camps and our expectations on young people, looking at how we use song to do international friendship and education, and how our journey of exchanges to develop friendships and links has moved to do more international solidarity and education work. Any member, to be fair, any member of the public is invited to come along to this event. You can see the link on the screen, and we welcome everybody along to that. It is part of work being done by the Heading to 100 working group, which involves members of all ages. They have a series of events and topics over the next 4 years, which anybody who can do some maths realizes that goes beyond our centenary. Some of them are involving just simply having a party, dancing and birthday cake. Others are a little bit more reflective and educational, like this event. And I've already mentioned the large centenary camp. We're working with the People's History Museum to organise a big exhibition in Manchester, so watch this space, but that won't come until the end of 2025. So there'll be more about our centenary work shared at Common Ground and at future supporter updates. Other ways that you can help. You may have seen this week people calling to share Twitter handles and to retweet. I'm really pleased that since we recruited a new comms manager, our social media engagement has increased by 23%, which isn't bad in 1 month's activity, but we would like your help in making that grow. So if you are on social media, please share our posts, whether or not that's on Twitter, Instagram or Facebook. We're always looking for volunteers to be new group buddies. So I mentioned earlier in tonight's presentation that we've seen a step increase in the number of inquiries for potential new groups. And we all know that it can be a difficult journey setting up a new group. So having somebody who can be on the end of a phone to answer questions can be really, really helpful. So if you feel that you have the time to be a new group buddy, I would love to hear from you. Also mentioned here is that camp supporter. Because it's been a while since some of our groups went camping, we've got new groups who started in 2019 who haven't yet camped because of COVID, and they would really welcome somebody to talk about how do you plan for a camp, or maybe to even help support them at international camp. So if you're looking to share your experience, by all means do get in touch. And without fail, we all know that our volunteers are our greatest resource, and it's our volunteers who enable us to deliver our aims and principles with children and people. So if you've been talking about woodcraft with your work colleagues or your friends down the pub, now's the time to encourage them to step forward, become a volunteer, or support our work as we rebuild after COVID. Don't be embarrassed about it. The more the merrier is what I say. I've mentioned this already. I'd forgotten I'd mentioned it already, so I snuck it back in again. So there's the Childhood Trust Champions. Again, as I said earlier, if there's anybody who feels that they are in a position to help us reach our target, we're currently £300 short and have 5 days to reach that target. It will help us generate 4 times as much money to deliver outreach and engagement activities to regrow our groups in London over the next couple of terms. So any support is much appreciated. And then I think I've got 2 more asks. One, General Council are seeking additional trustees. Every year we seek to nominate and elect new trustees to the board. We're particularly looking for individuals with experience in communication, digital technology and data protection. So if you feel that you have the time to participate and support our work, General Council now meets as a mixture of online meetings and face-to-face meetings, and usually 1 residential a year, but the group themselves gets to decide the frequency and how they meet. So come and be part of the team who drives Woodcraft Folk forward into the next centenary as we begin to review our current strategic plan and make our plans for what we're going to do after we celebrate our 100th anniversary. And then my last offer of how people can get involved is our centre working days. I'm delighted to see how many centre volunteers we have been recruiting, the opportunities to get outside and get your hands dirty. So we now have regular volunteering days at Cudham every Wednesday. We have volunteering days every Friday at Park Farm and the first Friday of the month at Biblins. And this beautiful photograph is some of our young volunteers volunteering at Lockerbrook at their working party last month. If you want to be a volunteer at a centre, you can come with skills or you can come with just willing to get your hands dirty. Our volunteers are involved with wardening, painting, gardening, and learning how to use tools and screwing things together by the looks of this picture. I wish I knew what they were doing, but they look like they're repairing the boot shed and the outside washing up area to me. But maybe they're just posing. But the centres are always looking for more and more volunteers. And I know that some people on this call already support our centres. So thank you for that. That's my last offer of opportunities, but this is Woodcraft Folk. You make what you can. If that you have an idea or a suggestion, I and General Council would love to hear from you, but we've reached the time when our prepared presentation has come to an end. And if you have any questions for Aggie and I, we would love to hear them. You're welcome to unmute yourself to ask or to put something in the chat.
Oh, a specific question. You mentioned that the event next week, there were still some places. One of our young people was interested. Who do they contact?
There is a link on the website. I can send it to you. So if you go to either the calendar part of the website or the news part of the website, you'll find a link to that. But yeah, it starts Monday, I'm going to say arrival from 11:30. There's a bit of settling in, some lunch, and the programme starts at 1:30, and they're there till Wednesday 3:00, if my memory serves me right. Everybody who participates will get formal external carbon literacy accreditation by the Carbon Literacy Trust. Sounds very exciting. And they'll also help to develop some future badge work programme that we will be delivering and rolling out to our groups in the autumn term.
Thank you.
It's all right. I'll send you a link after this, Ross, so you found it.
Okay.
Any other questions? If it helps, I can stop recording, but
yeah, who should I make the payment to for Common Grounds?
Millie, do you want to answer that one?
So when you book, I think, Tom, your booking is a bit strange at the moment, if it hasn't changed since I last looked. And I think somehow you've managed to book without booking any participants. And so it probably isn't charging you anything because it thinks no one's coming. But if I'll send you after this, because I've still got your email. We have like a guide of how to use the booking system. But essentially, once you book on at least one person, it kind of automatically gives you an invoice and how to pay. Essentially, it's just by bank transfer to Woodcraft, but there's some specifics about like putting in a reference so we know it's from you.
All right, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Millie. It's reminded me as well that I'd thought I'd forgotten to book, but was beautifully reminded by Millie that I did book for 2020, and that my booking was still there and that I needed to update some more data. So I think all of us over the next month will be updating the booking system to make sure that it's accurate and that our payments are done by the booking deadline of the 2nd of May. See, I was listening, Millie. I'm going to stop recording, but if people want to ask more questions, they're welcome to do so.
Yeah, what about